everybody, and welcome to day one of the 5-day local marketing strategy challenge. So before we dive in, let me just say, I hope you guys had a really, really Merry Christmas. Hope you took some time to just relax, unwind, and spend some time with the people you care about most, because in reality, that's what life is all about. And truth be told, the more time that we spend taking care of ourselves, taking care of spending time with people closest to us, our businesses will grow as a result of it. So never underestimate the power of self-care and taking some time to unwind. So what are we going to be covering over the course of the next 5 days? So if you have been in one of my challenges before, you probably know how this goes. This is actually the first time that we are doing a marketing strategy challenge. So I know that a lot of you may not be able to tune in live every day this week, and that's okay. I really wanted to take the last week of the year to do some really, really important planning. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to drop a link in the comments of this video to the document that you guys are going to work on today. So this document can be something that you print off. It can be something that you put into Adobe and type into, or this could be something that you use to just make notes in a notebook. So you don't have to print on this actual document if you can't, but I just dropped that in the comments. So you guys take a look at that document. That is going to be what we're covering today on day one. So crafting a marketing plan for 2021 is really critically important for all of us. So there are really two types of perspectives that people have on planning. There is a quote that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. And at times that is true. I mean, I think if we all look back on the year 2020, we can say, yeah, I had some plans and they absolutely did not come to pass, whether that was of our own intention or just these external forces that are working around us right now. But the truth is that planning in and of itself, even if those plans do not come to pass exactly as we hope, is very, very important. There's another quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower that said, in preparing for battle, I've always found that plans are useless, but planning is indispensable. And that's exactly how I feel about it. So I want you guys to give yourself some grace with these plans that we create this week. But I really, really, really want to encourage you guys to at least watch the replays every day and do the homework. That is how you are going to end up with a full growth plan, a full strategy by the end of the week. The end of the week is January 1st. There's no better time to have that plan created than the very first day of a brand new year with a totally clean slate. So today, we're really going to be taking a look at 2020. We cannot plan for 2021 if we don't understand what exactly happened in the year 2020, and most importantly, why those things happened, what we can learn from them. We're also going to set some growth goals. There's going to be a lot of different aspects of things that we're planning. But again, by the end of the week, you guys are going to have a clear picture of what you need to do, what you need to focus on, where you're going to be investing your time and resources in terms of your marketing strategy. So if everybody wants to go ahead and take that document that I posted in the comments, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I'm actually going to do this with you guys as we go through it. So you're going to be able to hear some of my thoughts, and feel free to share your answers in the comments so that everyone can see them. And, truth be told, probably realize that they're not alone in some of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. If you give me just a second. So this is the 2020 yearly look back. What we are going to do is we're going to go through all of these different sections first and truly identify, where was it that we've been? Why have we been there? What are we proud of? What do we regret? And then really take a look at some of those lessons that we have learned from the previous year. So the very first section that we're going to go through is, in the past year, I accomplished what? So this is going to be different for everybody. Even if you feel as though you didn't accomplish much, don't be so hard on yourself. Really give yourself some congratulations, give yourself some props for anything positive that you did, whether that was in your business or maybe it's in your personal life. Those two things are really intertwined when we take a look at small business owners. We have a huge role personally to play in where our business goes. And so don't underestimate the power of really congratulating yourself for any of those things. So the first one I'm going to do is in the past year, I accomplished. So I accomplished my revenue goal. I also accomplished adding a great new salesperson to my team. I was also able to have my husband start working within my business, which is something that, we've been thinking about for a while, but we finally made that happen. I also launched my local agency accelerator beta, which is something I was really excited about, for local marketers specifically. And I also was able to create some really strategic partnerships. I launched my podcast. And we really got our systems more refined for our clients and for our setup packages. So that is what I wrote down in my first box. In the past year, I accomplished. So I want you guys to do that same thing. Whatever it is that you accomplished in your business or in your personal life, let's go ahead and write those down. So as you guys are doing that, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about, why we really want to look back at the past on some of these things. Again, I already mentioned that it's important to congratulate yourself, and that's absolutely true. But it's also really important to be honest with yourself. One of the biggest things that I see missing with a lot of people in general, but especially people that don't thrive in their business, is a lack of personal responsibility. So, personal responsibility comes into play with anything we do in life. Sometimes there are things that are totally outside of our control, but a lot of times that's not the case. We had a part in it. And even if it was a decision that led us to a situation in which something was out of our control, that, led us to a place we didn't want to be, we still made the decisions that got us there. So I think it's very important for us to all be honest with ourselves about our positive aspects, but also our shortcomings, because if we can't be honest with ourselves, who's going to be honest with us? The answer is probably no one. A lot of times we don't even share some of these things that we're not happy about because, we don't want people to think less of us or whatever that may be. And so sometimes you might be the only person that has this information. And if you're not willing to look at it honestly, you're never going to be able to figure out how to do things differently. So this really goes into, the concept of the best way to avoid repeating history is to really know it and learn from it. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We also want to make sure that we don't have any regrets. And sometimes we might have regrets. Regrets are going to happen to everybody. But if we can identify what those regrets are, we are going to be far less likely to make those same mistakes or have those same regrets in the future. So in business, there is no failure, and I know people say that, but there isn't. This is a long game. This is a journey. And so looking at this from year to year, don't ever say I was a success or I was a failure based on this one single year, because it is a constant game of growing. So I want you guys to tell me some of the things that you are proud of from this past year in the comments. But I also want you to think about the beginning of last year. How did you see that year going? Did you see it going really, really well and then it didn't? Did you see it going well and then it did? Were you not really sure what you were going to do at the beginning of the year and then you really kind of gained clarity? So think about, what was it that I anticipated happening at the beginning of last year, and how did that actually play into what happened? So this group is obviously for local business owners and marketers that are working with local business owners. And, I can tell you, you guys already know you've been hit with a lot of things in the past 12 months, really the last 9 months specifically, that other types of businesses didn't necessarily have to deal with. However, in working with so many different local businesses and marketers, there isn't this rule that says that local businesses had it tough and so they weren't going to be able to succeed or reach their goals, because we have a ton of clients that this did not affect them negatively, even some in industries that were traditionally shut down totally, things like that. But the business owner themselves, they kept their eyes on the prize. They really stayed aligned with their goals. They made the right decisions, and it allowed them to continue to propel themselves forward, even when they completely had everything working against them. So again, it's not to say that if you did have those setbacks that, you didn't make the right choices, but just know that we all have those opportunities in the next year, no matter what comes at us, to continue to work this plan. So the next thing that we're going to go through is, what was I proud of? So if you've had a bad year, this is going to be even more important for you. You really, really, really want to say, what is it that I was most proud of? It doesn't have to be something huge. It can be something small, but we want to make sure that we identify those. And so what was I proud of? The first thing that I'm proud of was being able to speak at Social Media Marketing World. That was in early March, really right before everything started happening with COVID. I'm proud of the fact that I got to do that amazing, huge live event before that wasn't really a possibility anymore. The next thing that I'm proud of is my podcast, but not just launching the podcast, being consistent with it. So I think we're up to 38 episodes, and I launched that in April. So I've consistently done a podcast every single week since the beginning of this podcast launch. And that's something that I am very proud of, because traditionally podcasts only go about 7 episodes before they stop. So my consistency is something that I'm really proud of with that. The next thing that I'm proud of is being able to support some of my family members by allowing them to work with me in my business. I think that family is extremely important, and also employing others is very important. And so being able to share the opportunities that come my way with the people that mean the most to me, that is something that I'm very, very proud of. And I'm definitely proud of being able to hit the revenue goal that I set for myself at the beginning of the year and actually exceeding that. So it's not something to me that is ever really a finished result. I tend to not really appreciate or take the time to celebrate, I should say, some of those things, but that is something that I want to very consciously celebrate from this year, that I set a goal for my revenue and I was able to exceed that, even with all the craziness that's going on. So even if you didn't hit your revenue goal, whatever it is that you are proud of from this year, personal or professional, make sure that you're sharing that. And then another thing that I'm proud of is the ability to record with Social Media Examiner. That was an amazing experience for me, going to San Diego and doing 8 videos for their YouTube channel and their other marketing platforms, such as their blog and the podcast as well. And then I'm also proud of the fact that this year I openly shared my thoughts and my views and my beliefs in a time where a lot of people are nervous to do that. So I believe that whatever we feel strongly about, we should be willing to speak up about that. And that's not even necessarily business related, but part of it is. There are a lot of people who worry a lot that if they share their true thoughts and beliefs and feelings, that it's going to hurt their business in some way, and it prevents them from doing that. And I've come to a place where I wouldn't say I don't care, but I know there are so many people who appreciate transparency and openness and honesty about what you think and what you feel. And I'm really proud that I was able to share that without, fear of what others may think of me. All right, so you guys, I want you to share some of these things in the comments. Let's really get excited about the year to come. So make sure, good or bad, whatever it is, you're posting those in the comments, but most importantly, make sure you are filling this out. The next thing is going to be the opposite. What are those things that we regret from the past 12 months? Even when things are going well, there's absolutely going to be things that we wish we would have done differently. So one thing that I regret is not spending enough time doing daily huddles with my team. So I can get into a place where I'm really into my work and I don't necessarily take the time to really organize everybody first thing in the morning, get everybody on track. And that's something that I want to do a lot more of in 2021, is doing those daily huddles with my team. The second thing that I regret is actually not shifting some of my services a little bit sooner. So I had certain services that I kind of saw as, a safety net, so to speak. And even though they weren't the things that I knew I wanted to do more of, or that I didn't really think that that was the future of my business, I continued to hold on to those things a little bit longer than I should have, really just not necessarily having faith that everything would work out going in this new direction. So sometimes the regret is not doing something sooner. Another thing that I regret is sometimes spreading myself too thin with different ideas or projects. So this is something I've been working on a lot this year. I hired a new coach over the summer, and really just the ability to say no to certain things, whether it's what someone else is asking us to do, or even an idea that we have that we think is great. The question is it going to be beneficial to do it right now? And sometimes I would go ahead and do those things because I was excited about them, when in reality, my time would have been much better spent focusing on another aspect of something I already had going on. So just trying to take on too much and not really stepping back sooner and simplifying some of those things, that's definitely a regret that I have. And then something, more on a personal level, I think, when everybody started being locked down and not really going out, I think it's easy to lose touch with people. And I regret not reaching out to some of the people that I care about, friends, different family members, and really going out of my way to keep some of those relationships alive, even if I couldn't see those people in person like I used to, even if people, were overwhelmed or whatever it is, just not necessarily taking that time and effort to really nurturing all of the relationships that I cared about earlier in the year is something I have tried to do a lot more of in the last several months. But I do think that just being able to keep those healthy personal relationships alive, or even creating new ones if you don't feel like you have those, that's something that's really important to our success as a business owner. Oh, wow. I just noticed that I have got a duplicate there. Okay, so we're going to skip over that. Hopefully you guys have those regrets listed. If you want to share them in the comments, you absolutely can. I think that everybody's here for the same reason, so don't feel like you can't share the good and the bad. But if you don't want to, I totally understand. So now that we've got what we've accomplished in the past year, we've got what we're proud of, we've got what we regret, let's take a look at some of those themes that we see from the year 2020 within our own business. So a theme could have been not being organized enough, or maybe it was being extremely organized. Maybe it was simplicity. Maybe it was not simplicity. Maybe it was, extreme growth. Maybe it was learning. What are those themes that you see from yourself within the last year. So one thing for me is definitely education. So this year, I have shifted my business a lot more into the educational space. So I've been doing coaching and mentorships and training for a while, but this year I really dove a lot deeper into it. It's something I'm extremely passionate about. And so that's something I've focused a lot on, really just mentorships, helping others grow, helping others learn, set up these same systems for their own business. Another theme from the year is really, I don't know exactly how to phrase this, but just kind of fighting, not in a negative way, but trying to fight for local businesses that are being closed, trying to fight what's happening in the world to try and be able to continue to grow my own business, to try and grow the businesses of my clients and my students, and really just trying to rise above some of the negative stuff that's been happening in the world. So that's definitely a theme I see for myself. The next one I would say for me is giving. So this year I have really tried to make a point to just increase my level of generosity overall. I really believe that being generous, it's not only great for the people that you're being generous with, but that it's great for our souls. And also I do believe that it will come back to us. And so trying to find opportunities to help others, knowing that they cannot do anything for me in return, that's something that I really tried to do a lot this year. And I think that, with everything that's happened in the world, it puts a lot of things in perspective and you realize what's important. You realize where some of your passions lie and those causes that mean the most to you. And if that's something that you were doing, then that's a great theme to notice. Were you an advocate? Were you really trying to support the underdog? Whatever it means to you, that's a great theme to look back as well. And then the fourth for me personally would be expansion. So I have grown my business a lot this year. It is something I'm very proud of, but obviously that comes with its own challenges, its own organizational issues, its own team issues. Lots of different things go along with that. But expansion has been something that I've been working on since the beginning of the year. And then my final one is going to be simplicity. So like I mentioned, towards the beginning of the year, I was definitely trying to do too much. I was trying to really spread myself thin in a lot of ways. And since the middle of the year, simplicity has been what I've attempted to focus on a lot more. So I still struggle with it every day because I'm an ideas person, but I love to implement. So I actually put my ideas into action. And sometimes it's not the best use of my time, or sometimes it's not the highest priority. So really just trying to take a step back, say no to the things I need to say no to, and really ask myself, will doing this thing help me arrive at my ultimate goals? And then my final would just be family. Family is something that, again, is very important to me, and just really trying to improve those relationships, be the best mother that I can be while also growing my business. It's something that it takes time and it takes effort and it takes work, but it's always worth it in the end. All right. And then our next one, next year, I'm excited about. So this is a great one to really dive into. What is it that you're excited about for next year? It doesn't matter how 2020 went for you. What are you excited to do in the following year? So for me, one thing I'm really excited to do is be a presenter at the social media marketing workshops. Another thing I'm excited to do is really just expand my mentorship programs for local business owners and for local agency owners and marketers. It's something that I've really been working on this year to try and improve in every way possible, create the best information, the best resources, be there for my students as much as possible, and really give them what they need to grow. And that's something that I want to continue to dive into more and more in the year 2021. I'm also very excited about traveling with my family. So I don't necessarily know all of the travel plans we'll have. We are going to Gatlinburg the first week of the year, which should be nice, relaxing. I really just want to be excited about spending downtime, really enjoying things in life and smelling the roses, and being able to just, be with the ones I love. I'm also really excited about one of my strategic partnerships specifically. This is something with the kitchen and bath industry, which is an industry I really love, that I've worked with for a very long time. And this is something that is going to allow me to help a lot more people in that business through this relationship that I've developed. So just excited to be able to put together new programs for them, new options for them, and really serve that industry as a whole in a lot of new ways. All right, now we are moving on to the negative side in a way, which it's not negative. I think if we acknowledge the fears or the worries that we have, we can talk about them. We can really say, okay, is this logical for me to be worried about? Is this a valid worry? Maybe it absolutely is. But I do want to tell everybody before we go into this next section that, truth be told, worrying, it doesn't add a single minute to your life. It doesn't change a single thing. And for most people, 95% of the things you worry about will never actually happen. That being said, the year 2020 was an interesting one that I think a lot of people could say, well, maybe I was worried about that and it seemed far-fetched and it actually happened. So nothing is really out of bounds these days, but let's just take a look. Where are we actually worried? Once we can see that, we can really ask ourselves, do I have things in place to prevent those things from happening? Or is it completely unjustified? And I need to take a look at why I'm worried about that and really address these things myself personally, instead of taking those fears and those anxieties into my business. So for me, next year, I'm worried about extended lockdowns for local businesses. I think that's something that we can all be worried about, not necessarily because it will happen, but because we just don't know. And if we take a look at the last year, there's been a lot of that. Obviously, it's going to depend on the state that you're living in, the city that you're living in, even. But I do pray that that worry does not come to pass. But I do worry that more local businesses are going to go out of business, and that would be my goal to kind of squash that worry, is to help them as much as humanly possible. But I think it's something probably all of us are a bit worried about. Another thing that I worry about is inflation. We have a lot of weird financial things happening in the world. And obviously, if you live in the United States, there's a huge deficit, lots of money going out, not a ton of money really being put back into the system. And so that just leaves a bit of uncertainty in the financial markets. What is going to happen? Who really knows? We don't know. Is it something that is even going to be an issue in 2021? I don't know, but it's something I do think about. Another thing I might be worried about, really, ultimately, I think as business owners, and I don't know if it's just me, I think about, well, what if my business just crashes and burns? I used to think about that quite a bit more than I do today. But I think that little fear is always in the back of our minds. Truth is, there are, multi-million dollar, $100 million companies that end up going bankrupt or going out of business. So there is no level of business that's bulletproof. We all have to acknowledge the fact that sometimes things happen, or we make bad decisions, or whatever it is that could impact our business. And so, just always the fear of, will I continue to be a business owner long-term, which is my goal, or, is the unthinkable going to potentially happen? So once we take a look at some of those things that we're worried about, again, I don't think that we should just leave it there. I think we should ask ourselves, okay, is this a valid concern? If so, what can I do to mitigate the risk of that happening? Or even if it does happen, mitigate the risk of it negatively impacting me. So in terms of lockdowns, that's a little bit less of a concern for me personally. I primarily do business online. I always have, but my clients, they're local business owners. My students, they serve local businesses. And so it's definitely going to impact me. And not just that, it breaks my heart. So I don't want to see that happening. I do think something that we can all do to, kind of push back against that is really stand up for our businesses. businesses and do everything we possibly can to keep the doors open, to support the local businesses that we're working with, to find new ways to do business that are able to, really reach the masses if we feel like we're not currently able to do that. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of innovation, and sometimes it just takes courage to stand up for what you think is right, regardless of the circumstances. In terms of, financials and inflation, things that we can do to overcome those things is to actually understand finances and take a look at where our money is sitting and ask ourselves if we think it's a wise place. Talk to other people in the financial services industries and get their opinions. Talk to a great CPA, talk to a great tax planner, really get information from people who know better than we do in certain subjects so that we can be well informed. And anytime you're worried about something, being informed is the first thing you need to do. You want to look at all sides of the situation. You want to do your research, dig in, and being informed, even if the outcome doesn't look good, you're going to know what you personally need to do to protect yourself in the best possible way. And then in terms of, just going out of business, a fear I think all of us have, I've always worked really hard, and sometimes that doesn't make a difference, but being able to work smarter, being able to continue to innovate or to shift when it calls for a shift, and not be stuck in the old way of doing things if there is a new way that things need to be done for us to continue to survive and thrive as business owners. So then finally, we're going to take a look at the major lessons that we learned from the year 2020. So we've already taken a look at what we've accomplished, what we're proud of, what we regret, what are those themes that we saw, what we're excited about, what we're worried about. Now, what lessons can we take from everything that we've just reviewed? The first lesson for me is that more is not better. So more products, more services, more is not better. Ultimately, sometimes people need less to actually have something work best for them. So that could be in a lot of different situations. For example, if you're a retailer, I've often felt that a lot of retailers, they have too much things that people are never going to buy or they don't buy very often. And so instead of putting your money or your time or your energy into those things, it's actually better to have less and to have those things that people really want so that you can package them together in a way that makes sense. And sometimes just to actually give the consumer an easier decision, because more often overwhelms people. And so that's something that I've noticed within my own business, taking a look at my trainings and my coaching and my mentorship and just saying, there's a lot of information that's really important, but do they need this right now? Or could I give them less and allow them to actually progress faster because it's less overwhelming if you take these really bite-sized chunks. So more is not better is a big lesson for me. Another lesson that I definitely say that I learned this year is that not everyone is going to agree with you. Not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to want to do business with you. And I think that's something that I've known for a long time, but it's really hit home this year. Everyone has such differing beliefs on things, such different opinions. People can seem like they're very much on different sides. And the truth is, I don't personally believe that people are really that far apart in reality, but I do think that you're not everyone's cup of tea and you shouldn't want to be. And we do not need to water ourselves down or water our business down or our personality or our thoughts to try and appease someone. What we need to do is really focus on the people that we want to serve, do the best possible job in serving them, and allow our people to find us and us to find them. Another lesson I learned is definitely that the world can change in an instant. It can really shift quicker than any of us have ever thought possible. And I'm sure that's probably something you guys have also learned this year. If we look back at everything that's happened in 2020, it's happened very quickly. People say things happen gradually and then suddenly. Well, this year has been the suddenly. And it seems like everything's happening at warp speed. Every week there's something different or something new, some new law, some new regulation, some new challenge. And so we have to kind of accept that in terms of we don't have time to sit around and wait for things to go back to how they were. We don't have time to sit around and ask ourselves how long we may be in this position before we need to act. We need to realize that the opportunity for things to change quickly, I don't see it going anywhere. We're living in this world that's a little bit uncertain. That doesn't mean that we can't have some certainty in our own lives and our own decisions and our own businesses. So when you can accept the fact that things could shift dramatically, very quickly, without warning, but I'm going to accept that as the truth, and I'm going to make clear, quick, concise decisions, and I'm going to stick with them, and I'm actually going to move forward on those decisions, knowing that I may not always be right in the direction I thought was best, but that's okay because it's better than standing still. I've seen a lot of business owners, like I said, that have thrived during this time. A lot of business owners we've worked with have done extremely well, even despite major regulations, lockdowns, setbacks. However, I've also seen people in those same exact industries that have not grown, their business has suffered, yet they've used these outside events, these external forces, as the excuse for why that happened. But that's not the excuse, because there were business owners with the same business model, the same type of business, the same industry, that they acted. They made different decisions. They put their energy elsewhere, or maybe they took some risks that they were a little bit uncomfortable with, but they knew that they had to if they wanted to keep pushing forward. So just not letting those circumstances dictate your life. Just accept that things can change. And we're going to do everything that we can for our own businesses, for our own communities, to really do whatever it takes to survive. And then another one I would say is that, local communities are one of the most important things that we have in life. And hopefully everybody in this group agrees with that. And I've again realized that for a long time, but it's really hit home this year, because if you take a look at everything that's happened in the world, in the country, it's all very much on a local level, state level, sometimes county level. Different places have just different things that they're dealing with. And the truth is that getting to know those people in your community, getting to know the other business owners in your community, getting to know everyone that you possibly can is such a benefit, because you can help each other. I did my organic course this year, and that was such a great experience to really go back and look at those strategies that I used early on and be able to share those with business owners who maybe didn't have the money to invest in paid marketing, who were a little bit nervous. But a lot of those things, they leverage your local community. They leverage partnerships. They can be done very easily, especially if you've taken the time to network, make connections, and get out there and actually talk to people in person, so that if there is something you could do that would be mutually beneficial, so that who you can call when you have a problem about something that you simply don't know how to solve. And I feel like, the places where local businesses have really gone under, those communities are going to be changed forever, because it's going to be unlikely that a lot of them come back. Unfortunately, I hope that's not the case, but it's just statistically very probable that those businesses won't reopen again, and their community is going to suffer because of it. Local businesses are the heart of all of our communities. That's what gets people out and about and doing things. And, just not living in a world that's full of big box stores and large corporations and, businesses that truthfully don't care about who you are as a person and what you contribute to in your community. So being involved in my own community as much as possible has been something that I'm really actively trying to do, because that was a huge lesson that I've learned this year. And then finally, for me, just really the importance of my faith. I, like everybody else, we've all dealt with weird stuff this year. And I've always had a strong faith, but this year more than ever, it's given me a lot of peace and hope and, just excitement for the future, even when things may not be certain, or even when things may look grim. And so being able to find those things in your own life that will help you push forward with a smile on your face and give you that hope, give you that excitement that the best is yet to come. I think that's very important for all of us. But really just being tied into my local church community, family, other people that I can talk to about my faith. That's been something that I've been, a lot more involved in this year. And that's something that I'm really excited that, has happened through the course of 2020, because I think it's very important. All right, so that's our 2020 yearly look back. I hope you guys have enjoyed this session today. That's just part 1 of 5 of creating our 2021 local marketing strategy. We're going to dive a lot deeper the rest of the week into our specific goals, how we're going to track those goals, what we're actually going to be promoting, where we're going to be promoting those things, and then breaking it down into smaller, easier to consume chunks, easier to execute sections, so that the first 3 months of next year, 100% you will feel on track. You will feel like you know what you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and you have faith that all of these things you're putting together, they're actually going to be working towards helping you personally achieve that goal. So again, if you guys have comments, if you have questions, drop them below. If you have those things that you want to share from your own plan, go ahead and share them with everybody. Let's get involved in this. And most importantly, make sure that you do the homework, that you fill that document out, and that you stay tuned the rest of the week, whether it's live or on the replay, so that you can have that full plan done by the end of the week, and that you can feel great moving forward into 2021. Thanks for being with me today, and hope to see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.